Yeah. Yeah. That's all. Hi everyone.
We're the most ridiculous being in the world.
Such an opening of the Despise Girls, and then this is the time that we are together.
How are you people? I hope you're as having a lot of fun as we are. I'm so excited about the launch of our video. How are you, Rina?
I'm great. You know why? Because I'm at the COP28 and I'm meeting Amelia and Tetet in the same place. So this is our reunion.
Yay!
Ooh, nice, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, Tetet cannot join us for now. She's monitoring the negotiation for the climate finance. So yeah, it's the two of us. And welcome for the launching of our video. What is our video about, Amelia?
It's a surprise, but no.
Right.
But you will see. But it's the conception of this new episode is about tackling the responsibility of the global north in destroying the world. It's like very subtle.
So yeah, we are going to watch the video soon, right? And then as usual, we also have our dear activists, friends who are also going to commenting on the video and all that, and then it's going to be fun 1 hour with us.
Yes, we can wait a bit so that people start connecting and wait for them so that everybody can watch the video. And we're very excited. The video was made by a creative team led by Petenera Consulting, who have been producing all of our videos so far. They're just amazing and so impressive with their art, with their conceptualization, and even when we say this is too complex to grasp, they manage somehow to make it fun, accessible, feasible for 13 minutes video. Is just really impressive.
Yeah, believe me, I also watched the video just now, and then it's amazing. Like you will see it later, and then how the video is actually unpack a lot of things, and then with a fun way, and then I think it's very very funny, Amelia.
Yeah.
It's very fun. I love it. Yay!
Oh, we're seeing Roberto joining.
Roberto is joining us. Hi, Roberto. Are you there?
Hey, Roberto.
Hey!
So good to have you here.
Thank you so
So
much.
nice.
I'm looking
Welcome.
forward. I'm looking
Yay.
forward to seeing it.
Yes, we're live now with our audience, the followers of the Despise Girls and the Campaign of Campaign. And I just want to say that one of our guests of honor, if not the guest of honor, is Roberto. Super proud to have him in this collaboration because he's a legendary activist on behalf of Indigenous people's rights in a encompassing manner in many global spaces, fighting for global justice, sovereignty of Indigenous peoples everywhere. He's a legend in the global spaces. So couldn't be more happy to have you here, Roberto, in this launch. And of course, featuring also in the video.
Yeah. Roberto, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes.
Maybe a little bit coming from I know you also. I hope you. Hi,
Of
Roberto.
course, I always remember you. Yes. Well, thank you so much. It's really not. I mean, such kind words. I really appreciate them, and extend, of course, big hugs and solidarity to you both, and to the team that put this really creative project together. I'm very excited about this premiere. Just to let folks know, my name is Roberto Mucaro Aguibana Borrero. I'm a member and citizen of the Guainia Taino tribe. We are indigenous peoples to the Caribbean islands. The Taino were among the very first indigenous peoples in the Western Hemisphere to be called Indians and to experience the really horrific effects of colonization. And those effects still are impacting our peoples today on various levels, not only on human rights, but on environmental and just you could see everything that's going on in the world. People know that As a result of climate change, we have more powerful storms happening, longer periods of drought. So, all of this is what we see in our community is a real connection to that very beginning colonization and to the direct violations of our human rights over generations. So I'm very excited again to be here with you to see this launch and to really be a part of this creative way to get the message out. So thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Thank you so much, Roberto. It's really a pleasure to have you here. It's really an honor. And we hope we can convey some of the messages that you have shared in your life experience and of your ancestors and your people, and conveying the struggle that you're making through this video, and hopefully to bring in more solidarity and more power to you. Thank you so much. We see that we have already Flora and Mati, our other
Yay!
guests, joining. Hey, thank you so much.
Hi.
I have a proposal. Let's do a very quick round of introduction, Mati and Flora, and then we can all watch the video, and then we can come back and comment.
Yes,
It's
sounds
about
good.
13 minutes video, but Mati, go ahead. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, hi, I'm Matty. I'm with the Financial Transparency Coalition. So we expose corporates, people who are behind environmental crimes, human rights abuses. We name them, we shame them,
Yeah.
we hold them accountable, we parade them. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Mati. What about you, Flora?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me. I'm Flora. I work with Society for International Development, SID, and I'm also a member of the Civil Society Financing for Development mechanism. Basically with SID, working on all things economic justice, on the democratization of global economic governance, also on trying to call out the issues with private finance specifically and how it's been kind of taking over our development discussions. And I know at the COP, this is happening big time as well. Happy to be here. And I was super excited to contribute a little bit with the video with some singing.
You will see.
Oh my gosh, I'm very curious. Okay, let's watch it.
What to do? Okay, we can play it.
We can play it. Yeah.
Worried about Roberto being away, but we can start playing it. And yes, I hope everything is fine on Roberto's now. Here,
yeah.
Okay. Then let's play it, Denise. Everybody, welcome to the video.
Welcome to the Global Leaders Summit. We will have a wonderful West Economic Fest. Global North, a representative of the wealthy countries. Greedy Sector, a global director of extractive industries. U3, AI robots, created in the laboratory of the University of Maximum Technology. Global South leaders. Most of the global natural resources are found in third countries.
Here, why are we dressed as cowboys?
Dear friends, the Western theme is to pay homage to Shawa's U3, to our great-great-grandfatherly heroes. Freed us from the savages, occupying the lands and giving us the civilization, freedom, and progress to make us the great nations that we are today. And now we want to help you become like us. It's about time your experience progress. We have a great plan to transfer our technologies to extract your resources. We will make you will make a fortune. You three, show them. We will provide the essential things, top technology, and the most renowned entrepreneurs. You will just contribute with the resources. Clearly, it's a mistake that they are in your territories and you don't even know what to do with them. We heard that in some places people even believe trees and forests have feelings.
Ridiculous.
Won't this plant cost us an arm and a leg?
Oh, just about nothing. And if you don't have enough to pay for it in cash or gold bullion, we can lend your money with a tiny interest rate. Around 150%.
What do you say, gentlemen? Where do we sign?
After the approval of the Global South representatives, Global North and Greedy Sector head to the laboratory to overview the U3 robot army. Hours later, at the Laboratory of Maximum Technology, Global North and Greedy Sector meet Scientist X to instruct his army of robots.
You three! The world needs us to promote development. Oh yeah! Our economies need to continue to grow exponentially. To this end, we will increase your presence in our colonies. Sorry, in countries of the Global South. And it will be you, the artificial intelligence, that will help us reach the goal. Your mission is endless extraction. Huh? What's going on?
Reset. All set.
Your mission is endless extraction.
Useless robots!
You went overboard with the plant obsolescence. The robots are no longer useful and we are barely in the testing stage.
My robots are not obsolete. They were not made for sale. Diagnosis.
We were made to be intelligent, and what we had been asked to do is the dumbest thing in the world.
Uh-oh.
It's a virus. Let's get rid of them. Anyway, the cobalt arrives tomorrow from the Congo, and we can build some more. Hasta la vista, huh?
No, wait! I found a solution. Do not under any circumstance say the word extraction.
What should I say then if the mission is called endless extraction?
Say, sustainable development. Oh, no. I know.
Let's see. You have the mission to accelerate the growth of our capital. Let's get out of here. Prepare the U3 army for the endless extraction mission.
Oh, who can help me now? There's only one way out. To call the experts.
What's the problem?
Oh, I don't know what to do. Global North and Greedy Sector paid for the creation of my robots to use them in resource extraction. They were supposed to help developing countries, but every time they hear the word extraction, they shut down.
It's because your robots are smart. That's the myth of growthism.
Is growth a hoax?
We need a slide projector.
Sure. What for?
So that you and civil society can realize the magnitude of the problem. Growth is just that, a tale, a deception, a tyranny.
What?
For the economic prosperity of a few countries, the Global South and sacrifice zones are being exploited to extract natural resources, energy, land, labour and time. This generates more and more waste and toxic emissions. The Global North is responsible for 92% of excess global CO2 emissions. responsible for 74% of excess extraction of material resources in the world, and more than 50% of its overconsumption comes from their extraction in the global south.
In fact, the growth of rich nations and the wealth of the wealthiest has historically been sustained by three subsidies: by the south of the global north, by indigenous peoples in relation to the upholding of biodiversity, and by women to the wider economic systems.
Colonial extraction is alive and kicking through financial flows or in the digital economy, among others. The global north has to ensure debt cancellation for global south countries, commit to reparations, and finance loss and damage.
That's right. While their economies are growing, they violate labor rights in our countries for cheap labor, forcing people into survival mode, and they call that informal economies?
We indigenous peoples have safeguarded 80% of the planet's biodiversity for years, but with so much plundering, they are murdering us alongside Mother Earth.
And today, to obtain the same volume and quality of resources, the extraction is deeper and deeper and with greater intensity. In fact, if all countries consumed like the global north, we would need more than 4 planets to sustain us.
In addition, all this predation causes women of the global south to invest more time and effort in unpaid domestic and care work.
Our future is being drained without any accountability and redress.
Time is running out.
We have exceeded more than half of the planetary boundaries. This is the first time that we're facing a mass extinction caused by the global economic system.
Turn on the lights! So, my robots have no failure! We must reprogram U3's code and integrate the information you gave us.
Yes, because to save the world, we have to build an ethical relationship with science and technology. Let them serve the common good.
Hurry up! Global North and greedy sectors are about to come and take the robots with them!
Human rights.
Social justice. Climate and environmental justice.
Resource justice.
Economic justice.
Are the robots ready yet?
Yes, we are ready.
Why do they look so weird? And what are all these people doing here?
This growth myth has to end. You are leading us towards annihilation. Global North, greedy sector. It's time to take responsibility.
If we grow the global north, we can revive the global south. Stop extracting, sing it loud. Justice and reparations now. Say hey, hey, hey. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Promote human rights and care-based economies while transforming the sexual division of labor.
Caps and quotas on material extraction.
Scale down extractive industries.
Make polluters stay.
Ecofinance must come from redistributive justice.
Degrowth for the rich nations and for the wealthy in the rich nations. Stop northern overconsumption.
Post-extractivism for the global south.
Ensure indigenous peoples' human rights and their sovereignty.
Collective power and democratic decision making.
Decommodify public services and expand the commons.
We will join you to achieve resource justice, and stop the destruction of the planet.
We owe it to the Earth. The global North needs to join our fight to promote a lifestyle and economic system within planetary boundaries. Join us to prevent its destruction. We will never give up on ourselves, other species, and this beautiful planet. It's so exciting to have that video finally launched. It took us a lot, and it's, I think, the most consolidated video that we've achieved with the Rise Up series. So let's hear from Roberto right away, because we can't wait to hear your views, Roberto.
Amazing! I can't wait to share this around and really hear some more views. I think this is so important. What a great job everybody did. The whole concept. It was really enjoyable. And for those of us who are active in the movement related to all the things, all the issues that were presented in this video, I think that we need something like this to uplift us and also to help get the message out. I think that people will resonate to it. And I'm just really happy to have been a part of it. Thank you so much for inviting me, and congratulations again to all the team. I think it was incredible.
No, thank you. Tell us a bit more about how we can amplify the message of Indigenous peoples' rights, right? So we saw at the beginning the scene of those developed countries saying, oh, we're bringing progress, and then they're really destroying everything. So the agenda of the settler occupation and on behalf of progress, and really committing murders, and they're having with a criminal agenda. And then from that's supposed to be in the past, but what we need to face is the how present that agenda is now, and how they come with the same discourse and with the same criminality, and then how does that relate to the environmental agenda that we're seeing now. I think you are the right person to tell us more about it.
Well, when you say that it's not in the past, you're absolutely right. There was recent findings about the murders of human rights defenders and environmental rights defenders. And a large portion of those who have been killed defending the earth. At the end of the day, we could say it like that: defending the earth, being on the front lines, have been Indigenous peoples. And that message resonates to me, that this is not something in the past that we can just overlook, because it's happening right now. You mentioned places like the Congo. For example, we're in the midst of campaigns that say that we need to green, our relationship with energy, but yet some of the resources are still problematic because they still have to extract. So there still needs to be work done in these areas to lessen the harm that it's causing, not only to the planet but to the communities who rely on these natural resources and who have lived in harmony with the natural resources. There's an effort right now with what the so-called 30 by 30 initiative that is supposed to be saving 30% of the world's natural resources. But when you look at the statistics, about 25% of the world's natural areas are still protected or owned or managed by indigenous peoples and other traditional communities. So if the world governments are planning to save 30% and indigenous peoples are holding 25%, where are they getting this land from? So it's a real red flag. It could be uh, another real time campaign of land grabbing under the guise of protected areas, right, where the people who have been stewarding the land are removed and kicked out of the equation, while then they could allow um, extractive industries to come in to still exploit these resources in a way that's not helpful for anyone except for their shareholders in a short term. So yeah, again, I really think that one of the solutions here is to include indigenous peoples in campaigns right at the very beginning, not at the end, not
Yeah.
to use them as the window dressing, but really to listen to what communities are saying and to have them be part of the solution making processes.
Definitely, Roberto. And this video also highlights the same way with the women's agenda, how indigenous people's rights, it's not a local, unique context-based issue, it's a macro issue. And how actually we owe it to indigenous peoples at the moment, the air we are breathing, because the indigenous peoples are upholding 80% of the biodiversity in the world. It's not thanks to Western solution, not thanks to techno fixes. It's really thanks of all of the wisdom, all the traditional knowledge that indigenous people hold. And so I think my question to you is how social movements can really stand in a comprehensive process of solidarity with indigenous people. So as you say, it's not the tokenizing, but rather acknowledging that the solution to saving the life as we know it at now is part of this shared knowledge and upholding the voice of indigenous peoples in all of the spheres.
Absolutely, I think that you hear right now there's a movement for the rights of nature, right? And people are really uplifting that. The issue that some of us have with the rights of nature process is that who speaks for nature, right? Is it again the governments and the corporations, or is it the people who have been living in harmony with nature and who have been really working in balance? I mentioned again these protected areas, so-called protected areas and conservation zones, but
Yeah.
studies have indicated that uh, these types of areas, these large tracts of land that hold what you were saying, this 80% of the world's biodiversity, is often better managed by indigenous peoples, even better than the big, eco green organization. And so
Yeah.
why are we
Yeah.
going to these outside resources when we could be working with the communities? Why do they make these conservation zones and hire, basically these mini armies to protect, so-called to protect them, when the people who've been living there should really be empowered to better protect, right, and to serve in the way that they've been serving with these relationships of nature. So yes, indigenous peoples need to be, their sovereignty needs to be, that needs to come into the question. Ethics, right, needs to come into the question, and really this idea of overconsumption, an ongoing theme I hear in many indigenous peoples communities is, we have lives and lifestyles that are based on need and not greed. And so we have to really implement that into the world psyche. There's a overconsumption, this overconsumerism. We have this real now, me cultures that are just amplified over social media, and really it's not doing anybody any good. You could see what's happening to the earth. You could see what's happening to the ocean, because we can't leave the oceans out of this, because if the oceans die, the oceans are ending up to be, our sewers. And, once those little microorganisms start to die off, they're filling up with plastics now. The ocean is acidifying. Once that breaks down, those ecosystems break down, it will affect life on the terrestrial plane. And, we'll see the collapse. We're seeing collapse in different areas now. There's still time, but the window is getting smaller and smaller to really do what we need. So really engage indigenous peoples from the beginning. Remember that indigenous peoples are peoples with a capital P, just like the UN Charter says all peoples have the right to self-determination. And we need to recall that and remember that indigenous peoples are not civil society. We have our own governments, languages, cultures, and that has to be respected.
Thank you so much for this. I just want to say, and we're moving to the comment of other guests, but we'll come back to you to have a dialogue. But just to say how important our agenda against occupation at this moment is now, and really addressing colonialism and imperial dynamics all around the world, because without those, all of our talks only about the economic system without really tackling what is behind it, we will not get anywhere. And I think also the wisdom on indigenous peoples in leading that fight, on telling us where to go, as you say, with ethics, with principles, and with a clear political project, is what will lead us to victory, all of us together. So thank you so much, Roberto.
Thank you, Roberto.
Yes.
Yay.
And I want to go with Matti, and just to start, Matti, because Matti works on illicit financial flows, which is pretty much mapping what is the extraction, especially in terms of finance from the global north. But I want to start also with a very tricky question, because the character says, "Oh, let's call it sustainable development," and he's like, "Oh, no," and then he goes back. So I think the three of our guests can talk a lot about that joke in particular. But Matti, just wanted to bring that the issue of the responsibility of the global north, also imposing us frameworks of agendas when we're actually trying to find for something else.
Yeah, it's really nice seeing all the little bits of voice and little characters coming together. It's like it's really great, because I only knew my little part, and now the scene is now the bigger thing. And then the robots, I had no idea we had robots and AI. This is really new. And to me, the robots, to me, I had a light bulb moment. The robots, they are like the economists. They're the people who give us the narrative of the economic system. Remember, economists are not people who study the economy. They have no clue what happens in the economy. They have no clue about what happens on the ground. They do models. And what are their models? Growth, extractivism. Those are the robots. They are the economists. They are economic experts. And not only economists, but also accountants, lawyers, bankers, the people who run the system. Those are the robots. And what is the solution? Actually, you've got it right. It is to insert human rights into the expert discourses and make sure that they run it on a different, basis. And that's exactly what I call a rights-based economy, or others might call degrowth, feminist economies. All of these need to flourish massively. Indigenous economies, post-growth, post-extractivism. Once those are the programs that we run our economies, we can start to heal. I know, otherwise we're in this mess forever. So I really like, and I think, whenever you go to an economics class, stop the robots, put them, rejig them. When you go to the to the masters of economics, all these fancy universities, just throw their textbooks out of the window. It says growth in the beginning. The beginning of economics in the modern sense, not the old sense, but the modern sense, is growth theory. It's not growth. We should be working on rights and environmental protection as the economic theory. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
And Matti, what do you say about the responsibility of the global north? Let's just go to jugular.
Yeah, I mean, the global north extracts, billions and billions of illicit financial flow. So that's illegal stuff that comes out, whether it's fish, we calculated 11 billion of illegal fishing out of Africa alone, 23 to 30 billion globally, and it gets consumed in most of the global north markets, rich countries. Then forestry, that's another 50 billion gone, maybe 150 billion gone. And I'm just counting the money. I'm not counting what that means to people, but just to have an idea of what gets taken out. And then you go to other areas, mining. Here we're talking of hundreds of billions of potential illicit mining, and that's tax dodging and illegal extraction of minerals that's not counted in any governmental systems, not paid taxes upon. And then we go to multinationals. What is the tax-based illicit financial flows? There's a study that says it's 480 billion a year that gets out. That's wealth in tax havens not being taxed. That's multinationals shifting their income into tax havens and not paying their taxes. Some multinationals pay like 0% tax, and they say, "Oh, it's legal." If I'm not caught, it's legal. That's exactly how the world works at the moment. And that tax should be, not just paid, but the reparation side should be, given back to those whom it's stolen from.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mati. Any because I know that the agenda of illicit financial flows, there was a very complex chart in the video of the movement, the flows, and there was a flow of illicit financial flows at the bottom, and then they disappear. I think it takes like 3 times to watch so that we can really grasp what it's saying. But just for you to ask, what is the agenda of returns assets? Because linked to illicit financial flows is, as you say, reparations, but they call it the return of the stolen asset. How do you see that as a bigger proposal for global justice?
I mean, first of all, what is the scope of assets to be returned? Do we include the ecological debt? Do we include colonial reparations? Currently, asset recovery, you have to prove that it's corruptly taken, or you have to prove it's money laundering. So it's a very narrow definition of what are assets to be recovered. And then the current process for asset recovery in the World Bank and other sort of asset recovery mechanisms is that you kind of have to negotiate with the country where they are stolen, where it's Switzerland, Jersey. They won't give it to you unless you can prove the exact penny you're trying to recover was stolen and you have proof for it. So reverse the proof is one easy thing, and Africa has now a common position on asset recovery, the African Union. So that's a good start, and there should be other positions that reflect Southern views on asset recovery. But the UN human rights experts are going much further. So the independent expert, for instance, on foreign debt and financial, other financial issues, says asset recovery should be just about everything. Colonial stuff stolen in our museums. That stuff, not just the Greek marbles, but there's loads of stuff that belongs to other places. And asset recovery, therefore, should be all aspects of stolen assets, and the history of stolen assets should at least cover the colonial period. So let's at least, go to, that part.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We go back to colonization, anti-imperialism as a strategy moving forward. This is so important, Mati. I want to say, just praise the three of you, and of course my ladies here. You were the stars of the voices for your characters. You delivered the lines with so much punch, and it was just like so on point. But then going into voices, here my lady Flora.
Yes.
She's the voice singing the song at the end of the video. And Flora, I can imagine you're burning to comment on the substance, on the privatization of everything. But Flora is also, I wanted to invite her to talk about the activism part, how she's an activist and she's also delivering this type of messages with her expression and how she's providing her art to a very powerful message. So Flora, thank you so much.
Before she answers that, did you rewrite some of the lyrics to that song?
No, that's a great question. I hope Team Lina Berry is here watching. Thank you, Tim. He was the lyricist for this particular version. Just addressing the growth, reparation, etc. It was a masterpiece of lyrics. So thank you, Tim. He's actually in a rock band in the US, which is a contestation band against growth, against imperialism, extraction, etc. we will share the link for their new album in Spotify.
Yeah.
They're amazing. So thank you, Tim. And then we have the other end, which is Jose Miguel Hernandez, who did the adaptation for have a Tex-Mex version. Thank you, Jose Miguel, an amazing version. He actually wrote all of the music of all of the videos, including
Amazing.
the Spice Girls tune and everything. And now Flora, she sang in the song. So Flora, amazing. Tell us everything.
No, first of all, thank you so much, Emilia, for inviting me. And yeah, thanks, Rina and Tetet as well for the amazing Despise Girls series. Yeah, this was such a fun thing to do because I feel like I sometimes don't express as much the activism in the art form as much as I wish. So I feel like that was such a great opportunity to do that. I think the last time I had sang or like did artivism was during my time with the student movement, like calling for more funds for public education in Brazil. And we did a lot of like I had this art collective with some friends, and we did a lot of like video art projections and like trying to democratize the message of why students and teachers were striking. And that was many years ago. So I was very glad to be joining this project and singing a little bit. And I feel like, yeah, it was a great experience to also be singing this protest song that I think Emilia told me is this protest song from the Philippines. And now with the new lyrics that are very relevant to the moment we are in now. So yeah, to me it was just really a fun thing to do, and I think it can be such a powerful tool to be using art. I mean, art and activism are two sides of the same coin. I mean, I think they're like very much complementary and need to be used more, and they are a lot very used together. And I think that's a very powerful way to get our message across. I think like beyond what Mati was saying, the economist circles, especially our kind of message that tends to be sometimes like it can be very technical. And I think this video and this type of work is exactly the opposite of that, or like kind of trying to make it more palpable and funny. And like I think humor and art are just amazing ways to get our message across. So yeah, it was a great experience. Thank you for
And
letting
I
me be
watched
part of
Flora,
it.
I watched Flora when she watched it, and then it's like her expressions are it's like so animatic. And then Flora, which part is your best? Like which one is the best part for you?
Can you
from
do
the
it
video?
live right now?
Oh, that's also
Oh my gosh, way to put me on the spot. But no, I think I really love the joke on the programmed obsolescence, like the robots basically them saying like this is you made us to be intelligent, or so I guess the AI part, like you made us to be intelligent and this is just the dumbest thing on earth. Is so good. Oh my gosh, I love that. So yeah, I think the whole like scene on the robots refusing to do the stupid things, and just promote extractivism being completely stupid and self-destructive. I think that was genius. Yeah, brilliant.
Sample, sample.
Yeah, we want sample.
Maybe we can sing all together the part.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Just gonna be a bit delayed.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna sound so good.
No.
But I think that's a great question. Like Matty and Roberto, who wants to share what's your favorite part of the video? And you?
Yeah, of course. I will say it later. Mati,
Roberto.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I honestly, I thought that we've worked together all of us in the sustainable development area. So when that joke came up, I really thought about us in that whole, higher level political forum and everything.
Yeah. No, starting with the open working group.
Yes,
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 yes.
exactly. So that was one of the ones that really hit it for me. But I have to agree with Flora that the intelligence joke was also very funny.
Yeah,
I think the
exactly.
other thing that I really got a kick of was, uh, for me as an indigenous person and somebody whose ancestors were identified as Indians, we all often have this issue where when they think about indigenous peoples from the Americas, they only think about the folks from the northern plains area with the teepees and that, and so that to me also was an interesting irony that again, that was the position of the global north to show that one scene with the teepees. I think that it's a kind of subliminal joke for me that kind of resonated on that, because again, it's pushing out this idea, the West and how the West was won and the
Yeah.
conquering and that message of manifest destiny. So I thought that was very interesting as well.
I don't know if you've seen the spaghetti western films, because it has a lot of influence from that. And then there's the scene with the eyes, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so definitely going back to those stereotypes, Roberto, that
Yeah.
you were mentioning, is like if there is no other narrative than those that are built so rigid on stereotypes that there is no room for questioning or anything. So definitely there was an attempt to capture those yeah, like that there's no history, there is no complexity, only a simple narrative, and actually that is covering a lot of atrocities. No, I felt that that scene in particular at the beginning, I find it very ominous. I find it like it hurts, but then it's being naturalized all over.
Absolutely. I think you really hit some good points there. It's this idea of how people are indoctrinated also over
Yeah.
centuries to really become desensitized to these issues, right? The issues become so simple. It's almost like it reminds me of when my daughters went to public schools and they talk about Christopher Columbus. They say that they can't really talk about the atrocities because the kids are too young, but
No.
they'll present Columbus in a really sanitized way where he's really happy sailor, and really that's not what it's about, but that's how they indoctrinate so that people think, well, it wasn't so bad, yeah, some things, but it's because they don't really, I feel that if they're too young to learn about the other side, they shouldn't bring it up till they are old enough to really learn about really what happened.
Definitely. And I saw a protest of Canadian high schoolers on the rights of Palestine. And so if they were 15, 16 years old. And so the journalist was asking her, aren't you too young to be in protest? And she was like, if babies are not too young to be murdered in a genocide, then I'm not too young to protest about it. So definitely on you, Roberto, this issue on justice should be actually our narrative. This is what life and death are at stake. This is what everybody needs to be talking in our society. It shouldn't be naturalized.
Who's that?
Oh,
Oh
no,
no,
we're missing
no.
Matthew.
Are we? Is it us? Okay, Matthew is
yeah.
there. Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, and I just really appreciate that. That has come up because oftentimes I don't, you'll probably just relate to this in the sustainable development area, and something that Maddie said about really bringing in human rights based economies. There's really an aversion many times to the word or the term human rights in the development sector, and that really has to change. And it's part of that because they don't want to face these realities, and they don't want to put those realities out there because it's not good for their agenda. But we really need to continue to do that. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Definitely, Roberto. Matty, tell us your favorite scene.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, growing up, you watched westerns because they were there. You as a kid, you can't escape them. This is the trouble how we're brainwashed. This is somebody growing up in the 80s and 90s, and he was there. And I like the cultural nuance of actually saying, "Hey, that didn't stop." Because there's a part in the sort of the Western genre where we think that by the time we get to the late Westerns, that we say, oh, now we represent indigenous voices in the Westerns, and now we kind of show the other side, and then the genre ends. But actually, the genre never ended. Like the exploitation never ended. And with the AI and robots, we're just gonna, if they have the same mentality that you program. And remember, these are, programmed things at the end of the day. And even AI picks up all the nonsense that we generate as humans into what they think is artificial intelligence. They'll start to replicate exactly the same ways of behavior. So yeah, I like this kind of cultural twist on the genre. We didn't end the genre; it is still there, and we need to work harder to actually end that genre and put a stop on it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, amazing.
I think when we talked to the creative team about the growth and all of these things, extraction, they went immediately into Western because we were discussing the technology side, so it was more into futuristic side, but they went into how to relate to the colonialization and imperial dynamics is the Western, and that how it's prevalent up until now, and how that tale is really what is the underlying drive of these, like their superiority and their the despise of all of the lives of people that are black and brown, indigenous peoples, etc., global north, global south. So I think the creative team did a great job in capturing the narrative.
Yeah, big congrats to the creative team. I think they captured what's going on. You know, we need to understand from our culture how these are very embedded ways of working and ways of classifying people. I mean, also in the Western genre, how people of Mexican origin are completely differently treated from people of North American white origin. So he has race, he has indigenous, he has extractivism, he has colonialism. It's got the flavors of what's going on still today without ending the genre right now. We show that it's still there.
Definitely. What was your favorite scene?
I just found it funny that when we were trying to present alternatives, they sort of manufactured many versions of us.
No, that's mine. I also again that I really like the reprogramming of the robot. Like really, that's very very funny. Like.
What's your favorite part?
Oh, I love every bit of the video, especially because I've seen every scene many times. When we were delivered one scene, and I was like, "What's next? What's next?" So it's been really a lot of eagerness to see the video. So I think my battery is about to run out. But,
yes,
but
and then it's getting there.
but let me propose something. We're
come
gonna
closer.
change to Tete's computer, but in the meantime, we'll leave the three of you with a debate discuss whilst we come back with you. The issue is that we have two persons from the global north, two activists, which is Mati and Roberto, and we wanted to feature critical voices from the global north because at the end we're saying we're inviting people from the global north to join, but then also we wanted to say that indigenous peoples are in the global north. That is not only a global south agenda, this is about a global justice agenda, precisely. So we wanted to say that. And Flora she's from the global south, she's from Brazil. So pretty much this discussion about the interconnections and the need for solidarity, global north and global south, with this complexity that I'm posing. So if you can start talking about that, we will change computers and we will be back with you.
So
I
and then we try
couldn't
to
agree
better right.
more on one thing. There are indigenous people in the global north. I'm from Finland, and there's Sami people in the the Sab region, which is classified as Lapland by most people, which spans Norway, Finland, Sweden, Russia. And, they face similar extractivism in Europe. Huge gold mines, extractive natural parks, touristification of their lands, railways that cut the grazing grounds of reindeer. Similar issues. It's the system. It's not just, there are nuances. Maybe they now have a Sami parliament, but there are nuances where they might have some access to rights that are somewhere better, but the economic system that they face is exactly the same. I don't see much of a difference, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think that's a story that not so many people are familiar with outside of your homelands. The story of the Samis. It's interesting because just a few days ago, I was in another event, and we had a woman from the Sami parliament who was speaking, and she brought up this issue about Harvard University that wanted to test this geoengineering, uh, you know, putting particles in the air. It's almost like, you think about when a volcano explodes and throws things into the atmosphere. The so-called scientists thinking about throwing these things in the atmosphere to help solve or deal with the issue of global warming.
Yeah.
And the Samis actually protested that, and along with many other people. But you're absolutely right. One thing that we see in the United Nations system oftentimes is that, when assistance comes or support comes, oftentimes indigenous peoples in the so-called in the global north are often forgotten. And in the United States, for example, I could tell you that the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota is still one of the poorest counties in all of the U.S., and that's an indigenous people's territory. We have seen some incremental advances, but with the rise of populism and these extreme right positions, we're at risk at every level. Especially when we talk about human rights. And I mean, we could see this going on everywhere. Even, of course, a great example would be Brazil. I don't know if Flora wants to comment with the recent election. Going from what you had to the recent election.
Yeah, well, so sorry, I had an internet connection, so I missed the discussion, but I guess I can speak to very briefly on Roberto and what you just mentioned. Yeah, in Brazil, as you know, we lived through some really dark times in the past 4 years, and now, as of this year, we have for the first time a Ministry of Indigenous People, and yeah, so Sonia Guajajara is now the minister, and she's now at COP as well. And yeah, it is definitely huge leap from what we had in the past years, now having real representation and the real recognition of indigenous peoples as being a group that needs to be having a very active voice in Congress, and not just representation for the sake of it, but yeah, being seen as peoples that need to be having decision making power. And so there has been a huge shift in political terms recently. Of course, there's still a lot of work to be done, and yeah, we hope. I mean, there's so many contradictions in the current state of political affairs in Brazil right now, with both having the indigenous voice being present, but at the same time having a lot of new oil deals that are being made as well. So I think that we're trying to grapple with this duality at the moment, but definitely a huge improvement, and it's exciting to see like a whole ministry being focused on those issues. Yeah.
Well, we have our sisters back.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, hi.
And I'm just going to say politics makes a huge difference when you get some right people in charge, because the previous Lula government was able to bring the rate of deforestation in Brazil down by actually, acting and having, inspections of places that are accused of deforestation. Not perfect, but it was brought down. And then when Bolsonaro came, he made it much harder for the police to actually, stop deforestation companies doing that stuff. And partly the voter base he had was very for it. Other issues like tax exemptions. The Brazilian Amazon has a 75% corporate tax exemption for mining companies. I mean, other companies as well. And that just, there's the world's largest bauxite mine is in the Amazon on indigenous lands in part. Mineração Rio Norte, and it goes to Europe, US, and it goes into the recent report that we worked on. Look, it goes to Mercedes and other car companies. That's where your EVs are extracted from indigenous lands. And the more we have transparency, the more we know how much taxes these people are paying, more we know where rich people hold their money, more we can show, expose, and parade them, like I say, and then hopefully the politics picks up that trend and we can get people to vote on their interests. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We're back. We're so happy. But also wanted to say something that we do not talk a lot in our circles, which is a proposal of degrowing the global north and a project of post-extractivism for the global south, because I think this is also something that we need to start discussing in our circles. It's not only about, what is the new economic system, but it's really what are the differentiated responsibilities. This is the CBDR principle, the common but differentiated responsibility. What is the fair share? So who needs to act in what manner? And then also, if the global south has been following the path of the global north, then what is our exit? So we're planning on post-extractivism. There are many ways, many traditions of transitioning out of the system. We're just choosing post-extractivism. Matthew was mentioning others, but I think it's really important to know that the South needs to have a project. For me, the following the lead of indigenous peoples is crucial for all of us, because they have this understanding of a different economic system that is being upholding the rest of the life. But definitely the global north needs to accelerate their slowing down the degrowth and to own the responsibility, even also in financial terms, now that we are here in the COP, the loss and damage agenda, reparations, which is so key. But we cannot leave aside that our colleagues from the global north in the civil society, social movements, sadly, they have now a bigger responsibility now, which is holding their governments accountable, all of those illegitimate spaces of power accountable. They cannot just say, we will follow the lead of the global south and you do the work, or as Roberto was saying, using tokenizing features of indigenous people's voices, and that's it. No, they need to commit, they need to act in a decisive manner. And so we really need a differentiated, radical agenda for the global north, and to let us do our agenda for the global south, and definitely in both cases supporting the sovereignty of indigenous peoples. What do you think?
Yeah. Sorry, I was like really focusing on Roberto, and I was I think it's totally right. I mean, like for now, the discussion on degrowth, I don't think that the discussion on degrowth is happening a lot. So we need to actually have that, especially not only to the global south, but also especially for our global north civil society, really, because we cannot be just in the space, in COP28, and then all we say is how we defend human rights language in the text, without criticizing the whole narrative of what is happening here, right? So it's not about we cannot defend this text and that text. It's not about that. It's about really challenging, having more radical thinking, and then this is why I think that the conversation on degrowth needs to happen. So for me, it's that. Yeah.
I think that it goes back to also what Maddie was saying about, how politics plays a really important role. And we've seen, with the example of Brazil, we're right now in the United States, for example, the democracy is really at a critical moment with the rise of this right wing agenda, and that really hampers, the movement because of, the fear, right, of these terms of radical thinking, of degrowth, and what they put in, thinking that people are going to their lifestyles are going to change radically, and all this. In some ways, yes, they have to change, but they have to understand why. I don't think that they're really getting the understanding of why they need to change and how critical the situation is, and really what their lifestyle, how their lifestyles impact. They don't really get to see and understand and make those connections because of the corporate takeover of media, of the voices that are look at what's happening in Florida, removing all the diversity education, the attack on women's rights. All of this comes in, as we're making these incremental advances in the system. You have this reactionary contingent that is really propping up that 1%, right, of this wealthy class, I guess you can say, that really doesn't want to be accountable for its actions, that is really just thinking in the short term and not thinking in as indigenous peoples do. There's a term that's used in some indigenous circles, the seventh generation principle, meaning that our actions, the actions that we take today, we have to think about how they will affect 7 generations to come. And that thinking isn't really permeating the international discourse, especially as you could see what's happening with COP, and the deals that were being made behind the scenes, and I guess the real aversion to the truth, whether it be the science or the voices of people on the ground. There is no science for for you heard what everybody's heard this already, what the chairman of the COP, the president has said, right? But we have to really find ways to get the other side of that story, the real human side of the story. I think that the world itself, especially in the global north, not enough people are getting that human side of the story, and it's the way the media is skewed.
Yeah. I mean, in the global north, degrowth has to be the norm very soon. Otherwise, there is nothing left. But what I would say is that degrowth, I turn it around and say, so degrowth talks about the planetary boundaries. There's a great picture in the video about the planetary boundaries, how we're popping on almost all of the planetary boundaries beyond bounds. But there's, in that same theory, there's the necessary, well-being, good life, the inner circle of the donut, to take the donut theory. And I would say that needs to be human rights based. So we need to give people a vision where actually that's where you want to be. You want to be in a rights-based economy. You're not over-consuming because you're endangering the rest of the planet and your future generations as well. But we need to make that very appealing. And that also, taking some of the yellow vests in France into the discussion, we need to make it sure that some of the poorer people who may be needing a car to get to work or whatever they need, you take care of them. Meaning you make the transition so that it's not on the backs of those who are already low income, whether they're global north, global south, because you don't want to turn those people as kind of electorates against the whole process of transition. Unfortunately, that's the kind of psyches that these right-wing strategists and media personalities and all those people play with. And it's a big part of the electorate that you need to convince them that actually it's in your benefit to farm organically. It's in your benefit to not to fly everywhere for holidays. You can staycation, as we started to use a new term in the north. The thing is, holidays regularly to so-called global south In Finland, you just call it South. Whether you're going to Spain, to Thailand, people just say you're going to the South. That actually is a term anyway. But it's only since the 70s and early 80s that became a cultural norm. Those are, and that we reached our well-being and human rights targets before that. So that's not necessary for living a good life. Just to take one overconsumption habit out of the equation, plastics wasn't the norm before, around the similar period of that sort of turning the whole industrial system into a junk system. So there are transitions we can look at, but we need to take care of those who are transitioning, whether anywhere they are, that they actually are brought along with it.
Definitely, and I think we need several episodes of the Despise Girls, with each of you just interviewing you individually, so that we keep on talking about all of this. And I think, Flora, you owe us. You will sing to us once we are in an individual episode with you. Just wanted to say, definitely, Roberto, to extend you an invitation here live with us to join us on our Facebook live sessions, because we have so many things to discuss as well. There are many these conversations here in the COP about how to separate indigenous people's agenda from local communities, how important it is that we have those two references separate, so that we really honor what are the implications of human rights of indigenous people. So I'm extending you an invitation right now, and let's
on the spot.
Let's find a proper time for you to join us, Roberto. And Mati, the same. I think we have a lot of things to talk about. I have a lot of problems with the donuts framework, but we will talk about it. We also need to have another episode.
So do I. That's a whole separate thing.
Episode with
I'm not on the inner circle.
all the singers.
Yeah.
We need a special episode with all those who have lent their voice with the song.
Yes,
exactly.
we will do that.
We have several versions already.
Don't forget, we will have our special end of year special.
So we don't have much battery either here. We're in Dubai, and as you see, it's getting darker. So we're gonna have to say goodbye. But two things. The Despise Girls will have a session next week, reporting live on the closing of the COP. So all of the gossip you want to hear, text us, let us know, because we are here to cover all. We are super proud of that video. Petenera Consulting, thank you so much. You've done an amazing work. Lenica Reyes in the production, and Joyce also doing just a remarkable work of creativity, art, but also a rigorous commitment to delivering a very crucial agenda on global justice. So thank you so much for your work, Jose Miguel, on the songs, all of the actors who lended their voices, so everything. And I hope we can also invite them, the creative team on the Despise Girls, to talk about more. Mati, Roberto, Flora,
thank you.
You made it to the night today, the session. Thank you so much for being. Amazing. So
thank you so much, everyone. Also, bye.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ciao. Ciao.